Tonight's classic focuses on the nose, or as Patrick Suskind more elegantly puts it, on the scent that leaves no trace in history, the fleeting realm of scent. Jean-Baptiste Grenouille is born with no scent of his own, but an extraordinary sense of smell. He's abandoned as a baby on the filthy streets of 18th century France. He grows up to become a master perfumer who will kill and kill again in his quest for the perfect scent. Published in the mid-80s, Perfume was both a debut and an instant success. Though, interestingly, the author has refused all prizes. He never grants interviews. All very intriguing. Hannah, why did you love this? Why did you choose this for us?
Oh, I just think it's just... I read this probably when I was about 16 or 17, and I just remember reading the first couple of pages and thinking, what story is this? The premise is so outlandish, really, when you think about it, but you read it and you have that immediate suspension of disbelief, and then it's just this gloriously sort of sensory novel. I just love the sort of almost grotesque detail in it. And every time I read it, I just, again, am swept off to this sort of this world of odours. I mean, it's, if you ever want to know how to write scent well, how to write smell...
The degree of difficulty, exceedingly high, to write a book about scent.
Absolutely, and he does it so well. And I mean, as much as the whole, even the idea of such a narrative is kind of so bizarre, the conclusion is so completely logical, it all just works. I think it's a fabulous book. Yeah.
It's a killer opening. I mean, you know he's a villain and an evil monster from the beginning. In fact, the beginning is fantastic.
Yeah, the beginning is when he's born, it's fantastic. And the description of
read
Paris,
the first line.
In 18th century France, there lived a man who was one of the most gifted and abominable personages in an era that knew no lack of gifted and abominable personages.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's perfect, and it gets
how
you
I
in.
want to be remembered.
Yeah. And I love... the translation is very good, it seems to me, and he uses the word stench on that first, about Paris, and it's brilliant, that beginning. It's absolutely brilliant, I think. And you're in, aren't you? You're
totally
completely... And it's so... It's such a bizarre book, and it gets sort of completely berserk towards the end, I think. I mean, right at the end. But you, as you say, you go with it and you believe it, you suspend your disbelief.
But it's the simplest and most grotesque of ideas, written in the most florid and ornate language.
Was it Peter Ackroyd referred to it as Nosferatu?
Yeah, it's like a scratch and sniff book, isn't it? You can smell it the whole way through. It's ridiculously grotesque. I mean, it is an absurd, hilarious book. It did make me think that the writer doesn't like human beings very much either. He can write about them quite cuttingly, quite often. You do get a sense of kind of truth bubbling away in a kind of Vonnegut sense of that disgust at wider society. But he's such a fabulous, absurd, revolting villain. I mean, the ending to me, it feels like a book that didn't know how to end. So I thought, I mean, it is so ridiculous, but the ending to me, I thought he didn't know how to end and just went, bleh. So I didn't love the ending as much, but gee, I enjoyed it, if that makes sense.
Yes. What, you found it credible that this man might pursue a whole
castle
of virgins and kill them, but not...
I was hoping he'd find a woman with no scent and they'd have had a cheat and he'd go, oh, I do know how to love, I've got to stop killing people. I've got the sentimental ending. I actually don't think there is a way to end the book. I mean, that's the problem, is that he builds you up to such a kind of orgiastic, literally, climax.
By the end of the book, he's a god, so, you know, what are you going to do with him?
Yeah. What did you enjoy it?
Well, when I was very young, I made a pact with myself that whenever a protagonist of a novel I was reading took to a cave voluntarily to live by himself for 7 years, eating only bats and lizards, I would throw that book in the bin and not finish it. But
very specific.
Up until now, I've
stuck to
that pact.
What's the problem with that premise?
Well, it gets boring, quite frankly. But anyway, this time when our friend Grenouille took to his cave for 7 years and ate only bats and lizards and spoke to no one else, I pressed on because I said, Jen needs me. So
thank you, Anderson.
That's okay.
I appreciate that.
No, it's a wonderfully bizarre book, beautifully written. The first few pages, when I realised he was going to try and recreate 18th century France just using smells, you know, the scenery is going to be all smells, the buildings are smells, the people's moods are smells, the people are smells. I thought, this is a really good idea, good trope, but you won't get away with it for long. You know, you'll run out of steam. But he never does. The book is as wonderfully noisome at the end as it is at the beginning. And for its language alone, it's a wonderful read. I think its problem is, same as a lot of novels have the same problem, is that when you have a sociopathic protagonist, it's the same problem with the Bible, actually. When you have a sociopathic...
The Bible?
Yeah. When you have a sociopathic protagonist, it's hard for people to empathise with him. So Grenouille is our fellow traveller in this book, but you can't care about him.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Did anyone have a bit of Skerrick of sympathy for him? Because he is. He's clearly
I had none.
a
The
villain.
hard thing
Sociopath,
is
is
that
it?
even the moments that you try to, because there is a portrait, you understand how he's come to this, you start going, oh, and then the writer goes, yes, in case you didn't remember, he's a scabby, disgusting...
Yeah.
Like, the writer keeps telling you what a horrible filthy
Remember the
animal he is.
carbuncles.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
carbuncles.
writer won't give him any joy at all.
Did you have a bit of sympathy?
I did early on.
Because he had a pretty tough upbringing.
Had a pretty tough upbringing. No, I don't think you really do have that much sympathy, actually. I mean, he is struggling. He wants to be a human, doesn't he? He wants to be
So there's no
fully human.
barrack for. There's no. You don't have skin in the game. It's like going to see a game of football where you don't barrack for either team. It might be a wonderfully literary, athletic event, and this is, but you just can't emote.
Oh, but you know, I think that's no more than Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or the vampires, or I mean, I think he's a gothic monster. You're not meant to sympathise.
He's out of a
with him.
Grimm's fairy tale.
In many ways, he's a two-dimensional character. You don't need to empathise with him or even feel sorry for him. Maybe you can admire him a little, because I guess maybe
Hannah, let's
not for his crazy girl in the oil vat perfume making, but for you know, I guess his determination to be evil and the fact that he is rather.
It's not even a
ingenious and
determination to be
clever.
evil, because he doesn't see it as evil.
No,
He's
he
just
does.
he's
There is
pursuing
affection.
he's pursuing art.
No,
isn't
he does.
does.
He
says
rolls in
himself.
his own evil.
He says, I decide to be evil. There's a moment in the book where he thinks, yes, I quite like myself like you.
I think he's the sort of the imprimatur of an artist, just pursuing his art. And artists, you know, in pursuit of excellence or genius, do become somewhat sociopathic, I think.
Can I point out the obvious also, that it is exceedingly funny at
yes, for
all
a book,
points.
For a book with so much ugliness in it, it's very funny. I mean, the characters that he, not only himself, but the characters he has the misfortune of coming into contact with, who all exploit him, who beat him, who hurt him, who take advantage of him.
They all die.
That's all. Well, spoiler alert.
Well, everyone does.
But it is such a, it's like such a romp. It's like that, you know, the lame is master of the house, but that's the sort of, it's that kind of, you know,
very
elbows out.
Dickensian.
Yes, it is.
Most of the posts we got on Facebook, everyone referred to, I mean, a huge favourite. People loved it. But it was always often accompanied by a bit weird, rather creepy, kind of extraordinary, rather disturbing. So, you know, be warned, mesmerising, it's true, which is what Colin Carnegie said, but I actually really liked Liz Watts' post best, which said, my sister gave it to me with an inscription, you smell great. That's so nice, isn't it? And that is our show for tonight. A big thanks to our guests, to Anson, to Marieke, to Jason, and to Hannah. Thank you for bringing us that.
vision has created a body of work of startling eccentricity and universal appeal. His singular view of the world applies not just to his stories and characters, but to some of his theories as well.
Well, there's no reason why the simple shapes of stories can't be fed into computers. They are beautiful shapes. This is the GI axis, good fortune, ill fortune. Sickness and poverty down here, wealth and boisterous good health up there. Here's the very middle. Now, this is the BE axis. B stands for beginning. E stands for electricity. Now, this is an exercise in relativity, really. Is the shape of the curves is what matters and not their origins. So we'll start a little above average. Is why get a depressing person? We'll start... The whole thing, we call this story Man in Hole, but it needn't be about a man, and it needn't be about somebody getting into a hole. But it's just a good way to remember it. Somebody gets into trouble, gets out of it again. People love that story. They never get sick of it. All right, not copyrighted. Another story, also a beautiful curve and easily fed into a computer, called Boy Gets Girl, but it needn't be that. Just a way to remember it. Start on an average day, average person, not expecting anything to happen a day like any other. Find something wonderful, just loves it. Oh, God damn it. Got it back again. People like that. Now, these are beautiful curves, and this gets a little complicated. Computers can now play chess, so I don't know why they can't digest this very difficult curve I'm going to draw for you now. And it so happens that this is the most popular story in our civilization, Western civilization. As we love to hear this story, every time it's retold, somebody makes another $1 million. You're welcome to do it. Now, surprisingly enough, I've said it's depressing. You know, people don't like stories about below average days and people. But we're going to start way down here. Worse than that, who is so low? It's a little girl. What's happened? Her mother has died. Her father has remarried a vile-tempered, ugly woman with two nasty daughters, big daughters. You've heard it. See? Anyway, there's a party at the palace that night. She can't go. She has to help everybody else get ready. She has to stay home. Now, does she sink lower? No. She's a staunch little girl, and she has had the maximum whack from fate, which is the loss of her mother. She can't go any lower than that. Okay, so the fairy godmother comes. Gives her shoes, gives her stocking, gives her mascara. Gives her means of transportation, goes to the party, dances with the prince, has a swell time. Boring, 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 boring. Now, there's a slight inclination to that line as I've drawn it because it takes perhaps 20 seconds, 30 seconds for a grandfather clock to strike 12. Does she wind up at the same level? Of course not. She will remember that dance for the rest of her life. Now, she poops along on this level till the prince comes to shoe fits. She achieves off-scale happiness.